Hi everyone, it's Georgia here from Stirring Change, and I'm here with Shalani McRae from Live Alive. Very, very juicy topic today. If you hadn't seen my post from yesterday, we're talking about vitamin O, orgasm.
No, we're not allowed to do like that.
No. It's just so public.
Say it loud and proud.
So that's what we're going to be talking about. I just wanted to announce before we get started on this call, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's a really, really good topic, the way that you talk about it. Well, regardless, it's a great topic, isn't it? But yeah, my What to Eat program is starting on the 6th of March, which is next Tuesday night. And Shalani's actually Shalani's spoken already in the program as one of our guest speakers. And I wanted to get her back to talk about this specific topic because I've heard her talk about it before. And it's just, I guess what most people are not aware, because it's called What to Eat, that we actually cover a lot of other topics as well, the mind-body connection and all of the things that you can do to really try and get yourself into a state of parasympathetic dominance, which is rest and digest. It's your fertility, your digestion, all of those wonderful things that your body can do when you're in that calm state. And nobody's in that state anymore. So we spend the first week pretty much talking about all the cool things. There's some really interesting things that you can do to improve vagal tone, the vagus nerve, which is gut health, and also, your mental and emotional well-being as well. And I just thought that this was such a good topic to bring into that whole, this is another thing that we can do to let off some steam. And I just really wanted to talk about it with Shalani in the program again. So she's coming back this year. And I just wanted to announce before, I haven't announced this anywhere yet, but our headlining speaker, for those who have tuned into the call, I will reward you with a little glimpse. Matthew Evans is actually going to be gourmet farmer. You might know him from...
No, he's orgasm material. I'm telling you, my husband reckons that he's the only other guy I go for. I love that guy.
He is pretty special. I think he's awesome. So gourmet farmer, he did the shows What's the Catch and For the Love of Meat, and they were just brilliant. I honestly never thought we would get that sort of information. I've been teaching this program for about 6-7 years or so, and it's basically the information in the program out there on television, and I just never thought it would happen, and he did it, and I just think he's incredible. Yeah. So I think that's all I had to say really at the beginning. But yes, well, let's talk to you, Shalani.
That's really exciting because, as I said, I have all these books, and some of them are like that thick, and I go through them all the time, and they're real homey recipes too, and as you know, I'm sort of been having a bit of a rally thing against all the trendy fatty sort of things, and these are all just easy, simple recipes, and using traditional foods
and just fresh from the farm. What we're trying to get back to. So I always find it really difficult to introduce you because you what do you call it? Like, you don't really have a title. You've studied as a nurse.
First, it was with Anna. So we're at my friend Anna's house, and Anna and I were in early childhood education together. We met at the Long Daycare Centre at Sydney Uni, and then from there I did the whole travelling around Europe, and then went and did nursing. Yeah. And then after that, I got married and had children, and then decided to study naturopathy just to help my son, and just out of interest, and here I am. Yeah. And I'm an ordained interfaith minister as well.
And GAPS practitioner and laughter yoga practitioner, and all of these other things that make her I think that's the wonderful thing about, and I guess I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, which means I'm not a complete expert in any one thing, but when you do interdisciplinary stuff, it gives you another viewpoint. Like when you've done...
Well, a broader...
Yeah, and so you can start to link things, and I think you talked about that in your Facebook post today, which we'll come back to. We'll start with the juicy stuff because I know that's what people are tuning in for. Hi, Susan. Hi, Keisha.
Oh, hi, Susan. I'm Keisha. I know too.
So let's get started, and basically we'll give us the PG version, and keep the R-rated version for the program. I hope we're not censored.
You'll have to sort of get the book and sort of, or whatever,
stage left.
Well, first thing I have to, when we talk about this topic, because I talk about it, I have been for many years now on this topic, but the first thing I always make the disclaimer that if you have any triggers to do with any sexual abuse or anything like that from your past, or even currently for some people, you might this might not be something that you want to watch right now. It might be a trigger, or it's sort of where personal responsibility comes in. So it's self-care. So if you've got any issues around anything to do with this sort of intimacy, then do what you need to do to look after yourself, basically.
Good.
Okay.
Where do we start?
Well, for a start, I think everyone thinks, do I need, like, what if I'm not in a relationship? So it's not about that, because, what that takes me then to is, okay, well then, I've got to do that, like myself, And that comes to...
It's not that bad.
No, well, it's not. Except that if you're not comfortable with your body and with yourself. So that then comes to that whole body image, self-esteem, as well as not only the body image thing, but your self-worth. And then that also takes me... So there's so many intermingled topics around this. It takes me also to how women feel about things like their menstrual cycles. And, the sort of attitude we have now around it with... it's sort of a... When our daughters get their periods and whatever, it's, the poor thing. Now she's got like 50 years of this and it's just horrible and it's a pain, it's the inconvenience. Instead of how it used to be, which was celebrating it. Yeah. And when you celebrate it, part of what comes around, there's a lot of ritual. I know you've read Red Tent.
Yeah.
I love all that ritual around it and how everyone cycled together. Yeah. And so there was so much... camaraderie, support and all of that around it too. But there was no embarrassment around it. It was, it was celebrated. You were fertile and it was, lovely. And as a result, I reckon that a lot of the problems we have now around cycles and cycles not working well and all of that is with all of this angst around it and the dread around it, you know. You've sort of sent I'm big on sending messages to ourselves. Yeah. And we send messages to ourselves that this isn't a good thing, and our body reacts. So no, you don't need a partner, but there are health benefits when you have...
I feel like we're in a sex ed class. Now, if you don't have a partner...
You don't need a partner, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I'm going to tell you is that there are separate benefits, and there are benefits for ejaculate in a woman as well. So
I didn't think we'd go there so early, but do you want
me,
to
Georgia?
touch on? I know, but I found that really interesting to when you, and it's obvious when you think about it that ejaculate, we'll call it that, is full of zinc. And full of other nutrients,
hormones and antioxidants
and immune boosting,
immunoglobulins. Do you know they've done tests on women pre and post, and I think it was something like 30 times the amount of immunoglobulin in a woman after she's had sexual intercourse with a man who's...
Because you think it's the most absorbent part of your body.
Exactly.
It just makes so much sense. You can't help but go into the menace in there going, yeah, good, this is great news.
No, I will tell you it's not. Okay, so in nearly 20 years of clinical practice, I have gone from seeing women who are like, can you help me with my libido and, and all of that because my husband's really, or my partner or whatever, and I'm not really into it.
And I want to... way around.
I tell you, the amount of women who are climbing the walls and men who are no longer interested for, I think, a whole lot of reasons. I think the stress. Obviously stress is a big one. And also their diet. Yeah. A lot of the men are super overweight as well, which has an impact on it as well. And the crappy now diet, between hormones and preservatives and all sorts of things that have an effect. So so that's changed actually, and it's the women who are like, tell me more, tell me more.
Now that's my multivitamin. I need to.
And the problem is, women talk and men don't, and so that myth is still going on. And I can tell you at these talks that I've given, and sometimes it's been to all men. And so many of them will come up to me afterwards, like through the talk, they'll be like, I'm all up for it and whatever. And then they'll come up quietly to me and they'll say things like, I'd rather mow the lawn,
Well, mowing the lawn is quite fun. It's my job these days.
I discovered that. When Bruce was really ill and couldn't do it, I said, you guys have it all over us. You keep saying that mowing the lawn is horrible.
So hard. It's so meditative. I come back, I'm like, I've had an hour. It takes us 2 hours to do it.
I still prefer sex over all good.
It's probably I would.
Mowing the lawn, but anyway.
Depends on the day.
There's right on mowing. So there's that. So there's that. There's some of the health benefits that we've talked about. Yeah. So that's when you're doing it. So we've talked about the health benefits with the ejaculate, but also just And so part of the other thing, we've called it vitamin O, and I do talk about vitamin O, but you don't necessarily, and this is the other problem too, it becomes all about the orgasm. You know, and if you don't have one, it's a failure. If he doesn't have one, it's a failure. And did you know that a man can have an orgasm and not ejaculate too?
Yeah.
So it all becomes about that. But part of what is so good about the whole intimacy thing, be it with yourself or with another, is that whole release of oxytocin.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole the cuddle hormone they call it. And so even if all you're doing, and so while I know this is called vitamin O, I guess what I'm trying to promote more or
it's the good
encourage more
with
is
the connection,
the intimacy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was talking to someone the other day. A guy's been married nearly as Bruce and I met 30 years ago this year, and it's more. I've known him more than half my life, and he was like, you know, you and Bruce have this amazing relationship which we didn't always have. But he was saying, but you guys really prioritise each other, and we do. We didn't always, but we do. And it is time for things like just not about the sex, but about the intimacy, and it's just sitting together and being in each other's energy. And I think when you've got small children...
Yeah, I was like, what's that again?
Yeah, right. And the thing is, what happens if you don't prioritise it, even when you have small children, it just gets harder and harder. The chasm gets larger and larger, and it's harder to get back. And I think, having said that too, I always remember, so, I mean, obviously I'm talking, well, not obviously, but anyway, I'm talking about this, so obviously I enjoy sex. But I remember when we were first married, first married, and, first had children, and getting together with other mums and talking about it, and they'd all be going, oh my God, and the hand would come over, and, you know, and I was sitting there going, I really love it when the hand comes over. But
the hand's
I'm not going to say anything because all these other women are going, oh, I know, it's terrible. I couldn't do anything worse. So, and this is why it's really important to be mindful about who you mix with. Because next thing I started going, no, I'm just frig. What's going on here?
Are you feeling all right?
And for ages, like months and months, I was like, oh no, because I'm not meant to like that, because that's what all the women were telling me, and there was obviously something wrong with me. And this speaks into what the other topic that we wanted to talk about. When you stand in your own power about, well, you might all be saying that, but I don't feel that way. And I thought, one day I just thought to myself, what the hell am I doing? I love this.
Yeah.
Why am I saying no just because all these other women are saying, you know? So I think that's really important too, to just be really mindful that we do have, that's my phone going off, we do have a whole mindset around that as well, that women aren't meant to enjoy it. And if you do, there's something wrong with you, like you're an info or whatever. And I think embrace it, you know. So the other benefits of the intimacy and the orgasm part is, as I said, the immune health. So one of the things they really recommend is, it's recommended is, you know, when you start to get the tickly throat and whatever, boost the immune system, have an orgasm. And migraines, really, really good for migraines. So you remember the old thing about, not tonight, dear, I've got a headache?
Yeah. Like, that's
best thing for it?
Yeah. You say I've got a bulging disc.
No, because it's really good for pain. So it's not only oxytocin, it's endorphins that are released too. So it is actually really good for pain relief.
Yeah.
So if you can sort of just so that's another one of the benefits. I'm going all over the place here thinking about things, but the other thing too is, and I have to be really careful how I say this, because I think throughout...
Does it not get censored?
No.
Okay.
But people can take it the wrong way.
Yeah, okay.
So I think over time, it's always been a thing of... women have been, I guess, more... not subservient, but it's always been about the man and, you know, and that sort of thing. And anyway, I'm just going to get straight to the point and say it. So sometimes when you're not... Sometimes, all the time, when you're not in the mood, it's a good thing to just fake it till you make it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just go through the motions. Seriously, because the more you don't, it does, and also the more you don't do it, the more you don't feel like it. And that goes to
it's so true, isn't it? It's so true.
So, so that's not, and then what comes with that? So that's I guess the corollary around that of, you know, even if you don't feel like it. I'm not saying give in. and that it's a less empowering thing, because how it becomes empowering is when you're getting your needs met too.
Yeah.
And I think what the other thing is, so we have all this naughty talk around it, right? As I said, the shyness and the whatever, and like it's this pleasurable, amazing thing, you know. It can be
like
if you
food,
sort
like
of
dessert.
Yeah, exactly. And like pate, even for some of us. But with all this naughty talk around it and whatever, and I know, like, hey, and so, and so as a result, we're not, women often can talk about their needs, but they won't talk about their needs with things like that, like, no, I don't like that. Yeah. Oh, I really like that.
Oh, I'm pretty demanding.
I think most of them out there would reckon we both are. But I think for a lot of women, it's sort of like, oh yeah, take your stations. Like, right. Oh yeah. Now we do this. Then we do this. Oh, yeah, it's over, and that's it. And was it good for you? No, but yeah. Bruce and I have this thing about 3 cherries. I shouldn't really. I promised him when I said we were doing this.
We won't talk about you
He's
at all.
just liked your page.
We won't mention your name.
Anyway, yeah, we talked about 3 cherries. Did you? But it's not about the cherries. It's about the enjoyment. So yeah, so so another thing then comes to when we're talking about it, and we're talking about it when we're on our own, is that we then start talking about things like sex toys and vibrators and things like that. And so there are a number of things we have to keep in mind around that. And for a start, you have to get your head around that, about the whole pleasuring yourself, right? And if you can't pleasure yourself, who can? Yeah. Right. And you only can when you know yourself. Yeah. So you got, and that's why, from a really young age we say to children, don't touch it. Don't, oh, that's naughty, and we have all sorts of weird names for it.
Especially girls.
Especially for
not
girls.
So much boys, but everyone accepts that.
Oh, except the boys always have their hand on it.
Yeah, but
little boys.
You kind of just go, they're boys. Yeah. No, there's no question. As soon as the nappy comes off, Pina. Okay.
So,
but I think girls are like, oh, it feels more wrong when a girl does that, and we're programmed that way.
That sort of reminds me then that we do have to be mindful of the whole, with sexual abuse and things like that too. But I firmly believe that when a girl is I got to word this correctly, but I think that when you're comfortable with your body, even from a very, very young age, you're protective of your body too, and know what is right or feels right and not wrong. And I think in abuse a lot of the time, the girl is made to feel really bad about herself.
And start to doubt her own.
Yeah, and doubt herself and all that. And
it's wrong.
And an abuser can say, well...
Manipulate.
Yeah. And so I sort of think, if we're comfortable with ourselves, we can be comfortable with our boundaries from a really young age as well.
So it's a really helpful thing to
yeah, and even just with sexual partners and things like that too. So, you can get to know yourself, and then you can start using things. But the problem is we've got the environmental... concerns around BPAs and phthalates and things, so you want to be mindful about that. Yeah. But the other thing that can really, so a lot of women have a problem, they say, with reaching orgasm, and I don't think people know that there are 8 types for men and 11 types for women.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And 3 main ones for women are the vaginal,
the clitoral, really juicy.
And, do you want me to stop and go to the program?
No. Go right ahead.
The main ones are vaginal, clitoral and cervical. And so sometimes it's not that there's something wrong with you, it's just because you prefer it that way, and so that's the way you need to be stimulated or where you need to. Yeah. Part of the problem comes with vibrators and things like that, is that they don't allow that beautiful plateau before the... Yeah. Right, and that's why it makes it really hard for some women. Yeah. So that's when things like yoni eggs and pleasure wands and things like that are really helpful. And they're great too for yoni eggs and whatever for increasing or strengthening your pelvic floor. Which is another reason why some women have a lot of problems too, because they're quite lax through having babies and that sort of thing as well. Which is another thing that reminds me. So
Tangent Central. I'm so glad that somebody else does this. It's normally me.
Need to drink water. Studies have been done, some I've been involved with actually, where the highest rate of prolapse is with nuns.
Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I shouldn't.
Because
but no, it's just
it is funny.
It is funny. Sorry,
it makes sense, right? Because when you're doing it, be it yourself, like with something, or even just orgasming with someone or on your own, you're doing your pelvic floor exercises, right? So if you're in a profession where it's or vocation where it's you don't do that. Well, that's why it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And
it's so funny.
priests have the highest rate of prostate problems. And part of that problem is you got to flush the pipes, guys. They got to. Bruce knows.
Well, I'm sure plenty of priests are flushing their pipes, Shalani. In the
Some
wrong way.
Yes, the wrong way. Yeah, but so the ones that are having prostate cancer, are, you know. But and so that's another thing that's really important for women too, because we talked about the health benefits of the ejaculate, but if it's stagnant, it's not healthy at all. It's actually quite toxic.
It's interesting because can you talk about, obviously in Chinese medicine, we learned that preserving the Jing, which is like the kidney energy, through not ejaculating on a regular basis. So is it the ejaculating that it needs to be like come through, or is it the orgasm itself?
No, it's to me, and so I'm not a real big. So with everything, everyone's going to know.
I think what I came to is don't be ridiculous. Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're constantly, if young men are constantly doing it, might it be depleting them?
Well, so I don't think so, because I reckon that the body is always self-regulating.
Yeah.
So that I reckon testosterone's in trying to get back up again all the time, and it's renewing and replenishing.
Yeah. Good news, young man.
So the studies have proved it, right?
Yeah.
That the more that you ejaculate, the less the incidence of prostate cancer. And the other thing is, and I remember again going into her personal life, but I sort of have to use an example, is that when Bruce was but when he was really unwell and whatever, and just our sex life sort of went back burner for a little while. Yeah. And then slowly it came back, and in that slowly it came back, there were periods, like to me, I'm sort of a few times a week girl, and so. When you're going weeks and months, I would say to him, you have to flush the pipes, because I'm not having that stagnant stuff.
Come on, sweetie. Time to flush the pipes.
No, well, if you want it, flush the pipes. Yeah. So it would sort of get to the point where I'll flush the pipes. And that was my cue that, we're ready to go, right? But it's important, because I remember even at studying at ACNT, we had this best lecturer, and he talked about how, and so obviously I had to find out for myself, and the colour changed. It's like this horrible grey stuff.
Interesting.
And it's not like, it doesn't look vibrant with life, as opposed to when it's fresh and, So it's like toxic material. And one of the reasons I'm not a fan of the not releasing it is similar to why one of the reasons, and I know this is going to really
why you're
problems for people.
Holding a sneeze? No, I'm kidding.
Sort of. Is why I'm also not really a fan of vasectomies. Is because what happens to that, right?
Yeah,
it's getting self-absorbed, and then what do we know about that absorption? Is that there has been connections with autoimmune disease and things like that, and then so that's, and as everyone knows, and okay, Georgia and I agree on most things, but on pretty much anything to do with health, be it what you eat or whatever, there's two sides, and we just have to go with what feels right for us. And as I put at the end of all my posts and whatever,
you pick and choose what.
This is only my views, so I'm not saying this is gospel, and I normally say that at the beginning when I talk. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not saying I'm right. Yeah. All I'm talking about is my experience, my beliefs, my research, and whatever. And
I think having all the information is not a bad thing, and then you make the choice for you.
Which really gets us on to the other topic that we wanted to talk about too, because really that's what it's about, really having faith in yourself and thinking, and the only reason... Do you want to go there now, or do you want to continue?
Is there anything? I know I'm still kind of...
Has anyone got questions or anything?
No.
No? Oh. Dumbfounded.
No, keep talking about this topic for a little bit longer. I like it, I think.
Okay. So, well, I think the most important thing is feeling comfortable with yourself, and also, I know what I'm talking about. I remember in my mother's group, we had the best mother's group. We're still friends all these years, nearly 30 years later. And I remember we were having dinner one night and talking about, toys and things like that. And she said, oh no, she said, what happens if, I'm in an accident and die, and my children are going through my things? And to me, it's like, how liberating for a child.
Yeah.
I know we all go, our parents, I'm the Immaculate Conception, right? We're all... But I don't know. To me, I think it's important to have that freedom and whatever. And I think anything that we talk more about, or we're more open about, is it stops becoming taboo.
Yeah.
And children or teenagers wanting to experiment because they don't really know what it's about, and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think we need to a little bit... I remember Mum, when I was at school, when the children were at school, she had 4 daughters, and she wouldn't go to the sex education nights and wouldn't let her children go because I would ask her questions. It's just like, ask me for trouble, lady. But yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting, like going over to Germany and being in the saunas with everybody, because it's such a different experience for an Australian. Like I've been into some before, but over there, how comfortable everybody is, like really letting it all hang out. Yeah. And it was funny because Jan said, "Oh, he's brave," and like because I didn't grow up with brothers, you know, so he's brave. This young guy that came in, there's all these gorgeous, there's some bigger, rounder, older women, and there's some really sexy young German girls in there, and everybody's naked and. You know, and they're all into hair free over there, like everybody.
Oh, really?
Oh, Germans, yes, because it has to be, everything has to be clean. And he's like, "Oh, he's brave." I'm like, why is he brave? I don't understand. And he's like, "You'll probably find out in a minute." And so the young sort of like teenager guy had to sort of like just get up and run out of the room, and some attractive girls were like, just leave the room. I'm like, "Oh, I get it." But it's just, I thought...
That reminds me of a story, but I'm not going to tell it because I know he's going to be watching. Not my husband,
don't bring him in again. No, I just think how would my body image have been, and this is not super related, it kind of is.
It is.
Because it's inhibitions, isn't it? If I'd grown up with, there's a million different shapes and sizes, and, you know, because I was really tall and I've always been curvy and, I was really skinny when I was younger, but it's like, you realise that you can't ever be, like, everyone's, there's so many variations, and you look around that room and you suddenly feel really comfortable because everyone's a bit awkward in their own way with their body, and so I just thought it would be really... We should introduce it into Australia.
No, we went to the one in Baden-Baden.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Is that still there? That was back in the 80s.
Is that the really posh?
It was a bit posh.
You know, we went there on this holiday. I'm like,
the Black Forest.
We didn't go to a sauna. We had we spent a few nights there in a really fancy hotel. It's a really like posh area. Yeah.
But the whole body image is a really important one too, for even with that whole intimacy with another or with yourself. And the whole orgasming thing and everything too, because often that is a barrier. Your own self-image and what's, you know, not when it's just you, and hating on yourself, which women are so good at
programmed
doing. To do. And picking all the things that are wrong about you and that sort of thing. And then when you're with another, whoever, male or female, whatever your choice is, or your sexuality is wondering what they're thinking of you as well. And particularly where men and women are concerned, women are under the impression that men want the skinny buxom girl and all of that, but I've had a few conversations and many conversations actually with males who it's actually not the thing for. Yeah, sure, if you've put on a stack of weight, meaning you're huge and whatever, but there's a whole lot of other issues to do with that that are far more important than what he thinks. But most men, all that I've spoken to, have been like, no, it's actually really attractive when a woman is really comfortable with herself, even if she's what is now known would be called obese or whatever, is still what they love is the attractiveness. And I remember. I've got to be careful who's watching this, but even saying to my mum once when I was young, and I had this darling friend who was bigger than me and I was quite slight, and saying, "Mum, what is it about all the boys that love her, you know?" And Mum says to me, almost in a way like pitying me that I'd never have it, she said, "She's got sex appeal." And it's
like that
like you don't, you're straight up and down, and she's got the
self-pity.
I don't know if I've got the sex appeal, but anyway, she's still,
it's sex appeal, sweetie.
So, but the guys loved her, and she was, considerably larger. And it's what they love is the confidence, and you love it about yourself when you are, if you can get your head around it and realise. And I guess again, alluding to the next topic as well. Women today have women especially, men, my big worry with men, and I wrote about it in that post with the Maggie Dent promoting her seminar, was the emasculating of men. And that is a real concern of mine. Women today are being told, are being empowered, I guess, in a lot of ways, but sometimes they're not in very healthy ways. And if you look, they're seeing themselves being empowered by photos of them on Instagram in and just, I don't know, with all the focus on unnatural bodies and unnatural poses and unnatural that isn't the broad spectrum of everyone. And also, I'm getting women in their 60s and whatever quoting about a girl in her 20s on Instagram. And I'm like, you're 60, she's 20. It all comes naturally at 20. You've got 40 years of living on her. So, loud and proud lady. You've got the wrinkles and the grey hair and whatever. And I'll never forget Bruce saying to me once, when I was like, how we do with women, and our tummies got soft. And he said, oh, I just love it because it's what nurtured our babies.
Aww,
and I
the right thing to say.
and sometimes his hand would go there, and I'd be like, because suck it in, and he'd be like, I love it because I just it reminds me of our babies being nurtured and all of that, and I'm like, well, that's great. And I think a lot of men feel that way. Not all of them are able to vocalise it. But women need to be more they've got a lot of pressure on them by social media to measure up. So it's really hard to love yourself when you're trying to do this whole self-love and accept yourself and for all your lumps and bumps, and then you're scrolling through and you're seeing these images that don't equal that, and that is being said.
I'm lucky I don't follow them anymore. I only follow farms and food.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
There's a lot of food in my newsfeed. I feel really good about myself. Like, it's fine. There's no bodies.
I know, but I don't know. It's just it is difficult for women, I think, where that's concerned. And I think one of the other things is that we've really got to have each other's back. Yeah, and we're not.
Oh, across the board, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there any other health benefits around vitamin O or serotonin? I love not serotonin, oxytocin. I like breastfeeding for me because I'm a very hyperactive, anxious type of person. It's like on overdrive all the time. For me, no one told me, and my mum said, "Oh, I loved breastfeeding." No one told me that it would be like. It's like a sedative, like a minute let down. I just go, oh, it's all right, Jan. Whatever I was whinging at you about, it's all good. It's all right. And I just feel so good and loving life. And I'm just, and I just didn't realise it would be such an injection of hormones. And
so stimulation of the nipples is known to release, obviously, the oxytocin.
Yeah, but it's just...
But it's not, obviously, breastfeeding's not the sexual act. But I never had it done. Breastfeeding was such a disaster for me.
I know I'm very lucky. I love it, and I just think, what am I ever going to do when I have to stop? It's like my drug.
The next
at
baby.
The moment. I can't just keep doing that though. Time's ticking, Shalini. I'm getting on. No, I think one of the other things I wanted to mention, I think I mentioned this on a call somewhere the other day, that sitting and eating with a group of people, you get a rush of oxytocin as well.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. It's all that kind of like connection.
Exactly.
No matter how you're connecting with other people.
And look at the world we're in today, where it's all virtual, and we're doing less and less of the personal. I mean, yes, we're in a global world. Yeah. So there's probably people from all over the world, but we really have to remember where we can on a weekly basis to
see real
connect
people.
with people and chat with people, and it's really really important. It's just so one of the other things with the health benefits was for sleep. So we know with men that it makes them sleepier. So what happens after is that
I always get sleepier than anybody else.
Because it's normally men are sleepy and women want to cuddle.
I just like if I catch it like a few minutes after. Get cleaned up, whatever, and then I'm passed out, and other people have been offended. That like I'm the man. I'm like, sorry,
you were so excited.
Can't talk, got to sleep. That was it.
But hey, so that's good, right? So so many. I mean, how many women I get in clinical practice too are having issues with sleep. So and no, you don't need a partner. You do it to yourself, and you can go to sleep. So it's a good sedative for that. Look, it's such a release too, and I do wonder. Like often, and I remember dear old Dr. Phil. Remember Dr. Phil? And he always said, "You're never fighting about what you think you're fighting about." Yeah. And quite often, the argument, when you really bring it back down, it is dissatisfaction. So that's in couples. But even for a woman or a male who's not in a relationship, you need that release. It's so important for you. As I said, there's that health benefits with the prolapse and then prostate cancer, whatever. But it's also that whole anything suppressed can't be healthy. So and it gets expressed in other ways. Yeah. And so and I guess that's part of what I wrote in that post today is this whole suppression of things through self-medicating, be it with food or with alcohol or with addictions and shopping
work.
and work is another really big one, or even on scrolling through and all of that, anything to suppress. and shift the focus. And anything suppressed is really, really counterproductive for our health. So that release is really, really important as well. So it's important for that as well. And God, there's so many, and I feel like I haven't.
No, don't.
Cardiovascular.
Okay, go.
Great cardiovascular health as well.
Yeah.
Again, on your own or not.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing. So that's the other thing too, of not making it. Here I am. Bruce is going to love this because I'm like always, not always, but every now and again, obviously, a fast game's a good game. But
Bruce is watching. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yarn's
no, it's
watching.
Yarn. It's actually Yarn. Hi, sweetie. Haven't said anything.
No, she's
no.
It's Bruce that's been implicated, the poor thing. But yeah, a fast game is a good game every now and again. That's why we have quickies as well, and they serve a purpose. But also that whole taking time, whether it's on your own or with another, is taking time, and really, because there are different levels of benefit as you get through each phase. So, and we live in such a fast, instant gratification type of not enough gratitude actually, but instant gratification. That even I think that's happening with sex as well, and with even when women are pleasuring themselves, it's like some women are timing, because we do women's groups and things like that, and we talk about things like this as well. And some women have sort of said, well, it's like, 5 minutes, I'll do it, and that's good every now and again. But other times you sit with yourself, and play nice music and burn candles,
give yourself a massage.
Yeah, in the bath. In the bath's a great place.
Yeah. More tips from Shalani.
We just got rid of our bath. We just did a bathroom renovation. We don't have a bath anymore. First time ever.
Oh my goodness! I couldn't. That's the ruling out. Whenever we did rentals, like, it doesn't have a bath. No, don't even look at it. I can't live without a bath. Okay, so do you want to talk a little bit on? I'm in two minds about whether we should talk about your Facebook post,
right?
Or because that was really interesting, or whether we should talk about just living more consciously. I'd said in the poll, when we go onto autopilot, hi City. Thinking, I'm supposed to take these, supposed to eat liver because Georgia told me to eat liver, and Shalani said got to have orgasms and got to do this, and but do you want to do it? Oh, I haven't thought about that. Do you want to start with that? I guess that's a good. So
topic. It's one of the things when a client makes an appointment, and I send them the client information form, and obviously a section of it is what medications and supplements and things that you want, and then you get this list, and particularly supplements, and I'll say to them, okay, so. Why, and it does say why you're taking it, and so it'll be magnesium for cramps and fish oil for inflammation or whatever. And I say, okay, so did you buy this yourself or were you prescribed it? And if you were prescribed it, what was it for? And do you think it's doing any good?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. So how long have you been taking it? 3 years. Okay. So. Do you want to go off it and let's see if it's doing any good, or and they're like, oh yeah, and also anyway, that's a whole supplement talk. I won't go into that, but so I think people are doing things on autopilot instead of thinking, how does that sit for me? Yeah, and that's what we need to do. So a lot of the problem is we're so disconnected from our bodies, and marketers have had big business and whatever have had a big part to play in that, because if we are not connected with our bodies, then we will listen to them and they'll say you're not pretty enough, you're not happy enough, you're not lively enough, you're not energetic enough, you're not intelligent enough, but we have the product for you, and then everyone just goes out and buys and doesn't think twice, and they have all these fabulous testimonials, and who knows. So so the only way you are really going to know is to tune into our bodies, and that's going to be a whole relearning. If you think about children, they are so good at tuning into their bodies and knowing what's right. And I remember at a mother's group talk I gave a while ago, one of the saying that how children are so good at self-regulating and knowing what feels right for them and what's not, and we sort of discipline it out of them, or And one mum said, so you mean when my 4-year-old was sitting on the lounge and just wanted a blanket around him when he had a fever and whatever, and I kept waking him every half hour saying, you got to eat something, you got to eat something. And I was like, no. And that's another whole fallacy, but anyway. No, their body just needs to go into that, and they know, they just want to relax, or they want to cuddle, or they want to whatever, and just let it go. And they don't eat for a day or whatever, get some water into them, it's fine, they'll survive. But they know what's right for them. They do. And then we sort of just as I said, I know it's the right word. It's not discipline, but we sort of it out of them,
Yeah.
yank it out of them, and or force it out of them by manipulating them in a different way. No, I know better for you than you do.
Yeah.
And
Which is a really terrible message to be sending to them.
Sure. So, interesting you should talk about that today, because it was about the emasculating thing, and I read this article where it said, if you're the woman who, you know, when you say to your husband or whoever you're at dinner with, what are you going to eat? And they say, oh, da-da-da on the menu, and then they come and take the order, and the woman says, I'll have da-da-da and he'll have da-da-da, and you order for them. I said to Bruce, because I do that, and I said to Bruce,
If I do that, no.
you know how when we order at a restaurant and I say, oh, he's going to have this, and is it like emasculating? Is that like, you know, makes you feel? And he said, it does really. I said, my God, 30 years later? And he told me now, why wouldn't you say it earlier? Like, I can order for myself.
Like you take control. I don't think I do. I think I just hand over all responsibility.
Right.
Because I'm indecisive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what do I want? What do you get? Can
Yeah,
we share this?
yeah. Oh, we share.
Yeah.
Oh, low battery.
Oh, gosh. Okay. That's all right. 20% can get us a long way. I know that from experience. And I know how long the car goes without petrol too.
Okay. So, yeah, anyway, so I shouldn't keep tangenting then. So, I think it's really, really important to be tuned into our bodies. And the best way to do it is to spend time with yourself, again, not necessarily orgasming, but just, you know, we're so fast. Every second is taken up all the time. And it's just sitting with yourself and just like, as you know, breathe. Just breathe. And just, wherever you are, in the car, there's always someone behind. Shut your eyes, because that puts you in a meditative state straight away. And there's always these really lovely people in the cars behind you that will let you know it's time to go. But just, how does that feel? And so when Shalani says, eat this or take this, storage is almost full as well. Go, how does that feel? Yeah, I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no. I remember I tried before, or...
It's amazing that the more you do this, and for me it was very much in pregnancy. I was taking certain food-based supplements, and you know, some of them I had really good intentions, and they would sit in the fridge, and I just didn't take them. And then other ones I was taking, you know, like I was like, oh, I'd love taking the organ meat pills. I really loved taking those. But there were other ones my body just didn't gravitate towards it. And it's amazing how I think definitely the more you practice it, but also the more, I think maybe the healthier you become with your body, you might be able to tune in a little bit better. And certainly with nutrients, you can crave the right nutrients if you're in balance and not eating processed foods. That becomes easier. But I think the more that you practice this type of decision making, the clearer it becomes.
Right, but the next step after that comes with what happens, and this is what I was asked in an interview a while ago actually about how I got the name, about the disruptive name, not how I got it, but what gave me, because to be, I guess, disruptive, and I really like calling it that, means that I and you often say things away from what everyone else is saying, right? And that sort of, it takes courage, guts, like to be able to do it, and that's not putting myself on a pedestal. You really need to feel confident in yourself and what you're saying. And so that's the next step. It's all well and good to tune in and say, all right, well, no, what everyone is saying doesn't feel right for me. But then how do I then, like we're saying, mix with other people, go to mother's group, whatever, and when they're all saying, oh, how good is coconut oil? It's the best, and for you, it's not, and doesn't make you feel that great or whatever. To then go, no, not really.
To say that,
you know, a lot of women feel really uncomfortable about saying that, and again, that comes back down to, and so even in this interview, I said I remember one of the biggest impacts in it about the time just before the disruptive thing came up was a quote I found. So it was maybe 3 years ago, from Maya Angelou about belonging. And where you belong no place and every place, and it's probably why it sat so well with me is because I've never been a fan of the tribes.
Oh, no, neither.
Because, again, people sort of think there's freedom in a tribe, but you still have to measure up to all the rules and things. And then when you don't,
and then when you change,
you're not a member of the tribe anymore.
If you change, it's you boot it out.
That's
or,
right.
You know,
That's cold-shouldered, or what's wrong with you? Because again, we all have to agree and we all have to be the same. And you know, it's funny because they're the sorts of tribes that are saying, "Oh, modern medicine is one size fits all," and we're not one size, but they are, because if you're a part of a tribe, that's what you're sort of saying, you know. So I think with the Maya Angelou quote too, it made me realise, no, we don't. I think as humans, I always say we're hardwired for the A's, for acceptance and affection and acknowledgement and all those sorts of A things. And we think with that we need to be accepted all the time. We need to be validated all the time, acknowledged all the time. But where it starts is that we can do that for ourselves. You know, if I can accept and acknowledge myself first, then that's the most important. And then I'm not so dependent. I'm needing you to acknowledge me or say, and it's not so fearful for me when you say, actually, I don't agree.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my experience. Or are you nuts? Everyone knows that's good for you.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I think that whole, so I think that whole it all comes down to a whole lot of stuff about looking at yourself, your internal self. And I think we do health, we do life from outside of ourselves today. And that's again that whole Georgia said to do it, Shalani said to do it, or whatever, is no personal responsibility. So and we're not doing this at a conscious level. We've been trained this way. So I'm not like being critical or whatever or pointing the finger. We're just. I love her too.
Ayla says, love watching you guys. You have a good dynamic going there. I've been smiling, laughing since the beginning of this video. Do these talks more often.
Makes me smile too.
You have to like tangents.
Zoe's there too. So it's a lot of taking that time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. And this has been like for me, and for me still, I'm such a work in progress. I mean, we all are. I mean, it's never done till you're dead, really. But it's this thing of just taking time out. And then you build on it. So 3 minutes a day or whatever of just and checking in with yourself and writing in a diary or talking to someone who gets you.
I'd love to write in a diary.
I can't.
I put it off. I tried, but like it's also a time thing now. But I think like I'm writing in Archie's book.
Yes.
Like force myself to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just. I never stuck with it.
Yeah,
and I've got friends who've written journals, and I'm like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
The
other problem is when you're doing the minimalist thing, what do you do with all the diaries? That's part of what stopped me as well. Yeah. It's my excuse. I just don't like it. But there's other things I do. Yeah. You know, so I think that it's just. It's so empowering, and everything starts to fall into place. Decisions that you need to make about your health, and God forbid there's a health crisis for yourself or your children or whatever, making choices, because what's the first thing we hear when people are in a health crisis? Oh, some people are saying this is the right thing to do, and others are saying this is the right thing to do, and they're poles apart, the two things, and people are like, I don't know what to do, and that's when you just have to sit with yourself and really get clear on, well, what feels right. There's so much fear. That's the thing. Everyone.
I think that's where I was going to go from to. Really, is that fear, especially with cancer. Yeah. It's like instant. You need surgery today. You need it yesterday. In no time. And it's like the cancer's been growing for 20 years, and and one more day, you can't have one more day to think about it. Exactly. And so it is. But
still, you're in that state of fear. And I remember there's a professor I went to there's this fabulous group of doctors and professors at Sydney Uni, Charles Perkins Centre, and they're all into the de-prescribing of medications and the over-intervention of medicine. And I remember her saying that we have the medical profession has shot themselves in the foot by creating so much fear around cancer, because we now know the number one above everything else worst thing you can do to either get a diagnosis or once you have one is to be in that state of fear. Yeah. So
but shell-shocked, kind of stressed out state.
Well, you want to do shell-shocked. So I've been meaning to write about this, haven't got around to it. But every time I mention it in talks and whatever, everyone goes, or in consultations, everyone goes, and it's not. I'm not doing the disruptive thing on purpose. It really is how I feel. If I was told you have to have one of these conditions, choose. Cancer or an autoimmune condition, I would pick cancer any day.
Me too.
It makes so much. Cancer is actually, and look, again, this is personal responsibility. Do what you need to do for your self-care. If this is a trigger for you for anything you're going through. From my experience, and I've had a diagnosis in the past, it makes sense. Cancer. It's an aberration of the immune system, and to bomb it and whatever, everyone's personal choice, but it just doesn't make sense. It to me, it's about nurturing, and normally, and studies show a diagnosis comes 18 months after a stressful event. So it's obvious that the body needs some nurturing.
Yeah.
Autoimmune, and obviously I've been living with it for the last 4 years, is, and Bruce was really upset when I first made that statement. He was sort of like, well, that doesn't give me much hope, you know. But and I guess it is what it is. But autoimmune has a mind of its own, you know, with flares and things like that. It's just, and yes, we can manage it, and we've managed Bruce's so well that he was in remission, and then he gets exposed to mold.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Whereas with cancer, that's not the case. Yeah. You know, it's so, I don't know. So
it's
that's
a tough one. And speaking of treatment, there's a really good book called Radical Remission.
Yes.
She talks about really whether you get conventional treatment or not. There's all these things in common that you can do. All these people who have had this spontaneous, she calls it radical remission out of respect to the people who have essentially brought themselves into remission. Not just, it's not an accident. They actually did, she recorded everything they did. There was 100 common things, and she wrote about every single one of them, did the top 9 things, and that was radically transform their diet, get a spiritual
There was only
practice.
2 physical things. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's
out of 1,000 people all over the world that she interviewed, there was only 2 physical things, and that was diet, but there was no one diet.
No, it was just
and
something
supplements,
radical.
but there was no common supplements.
Yeah,
and all the rest.
Yeah,
and this
with
is
changing
why
your mindset, getting a spiritual practice, all of those things. It's like choosing to use it as a turning point. Right. And transforming everything else about you.
That's right. And that's what that post I did today was about, how trauma and emotions and whatever sit in our cells. Yeah. And then when they're suppressed...
Can you talk about that? I thought, literally when I read that, I'm like, maybe we should scrap everything else and talk about that. But can you just...
Well, again, I'm not
briefly...
an authority on it or anything, but I think that also having done the interfaith work and whatever, so I do... And I have to say, most of my work now, it seems, is shifting into where people are wanting to do more work around their thought processes, their consciousness and awareness, and dealing with traumas and things, because I'm not really a person who's into sitting and dwelling on things. Yeah. As I said to you, my spiritual practice is A Course in Miracles, and it says... you've got the crucifixion and resurrection from Easter, and it says do not dwell on look at the crucifixion but do not dwell on it. So the analogy is absolutely acknowledge your problems or acknowledge what is horrible and hate things and be angry about them and be sad about them, but then there comes a point where, like the phoenix or like the lotus out of the muddy water and whatever, and I know it all sounds cliched, but it's actually a fact. You then have to rise from that and start doing one step at a time, one little step at a time of I'm not going to let this thing that had such an impact on my life back when I was whatever age continue to have power over me now. And so that's when you do, by acknowledging it, you start the release. Anything that is spoken, you start the release. Yeah. So you speak it and you acknowledge it, and it's like what they talk about, shining a light on it. And so there's no darkness anymore when you shine a light. You shine a light by talking about it. And then you start going through one step at a time of I'm not letting this thing have power over me. Yeah. So it becomes acknowledging this is what it is. So especially if you've got a chronic condition or whatever and there's a lot of pain involved, or whatever the trauma was has left you with anxiety or whatever it is. It's like observing, that's what's happening now. Not being taken into it. Yeah. And even with the pain, my pain is happening now. I'm not my pain. And we know that different things like distraction and all of that can work as well. You find the tools that work for you. And it's like with diet, people will say, well, what's the best diet? Well, we don't know, it's trial and error, because we're all different. And so everything is going to be finding the things that work for you, the tools that work for you. And owning it, really owning it and being okay that no one else finds that thing helpful, but you do. Yeah. And that's okay, because why would you suffer? Because no one else finds that, So our memories, and the other thing, I do a lot of work with heart math, and we do in talks and things, we connect people up and trying to show them the difference with what happens when they're in coherence and when they're not. Yeah. So pretty much it's, for those who don't know, with heart math, it's about that our bodies, when they're at their most optimal state,
Yeah.
in a state of what's known as coherence.
Yeah.
And you're in that state when everything's in balance and you're not in stress. So how we get people out of it is we get them to think of a stressful event.
Yeah.
And then you see the graph. And
it's like the heart rate variability. Like
that's right.
Basically, when you're in it's kind of really just like parasympathetic, and
yes.
even though there's a very optimal place in the parasympathetic, but it's like there's a certain optimal state where everything is working beautifully. And as soon as you experience any of those negative emotions, I mean, it doesn't matter what word you use, whether it's coherence or sympathetic, parasympathetic, or love, fear.
Yes.
It's all the same.
It is.
Just on different. And we talk about the whole first week of the program. That's kind of what we talk about, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk quickly about the that actual, was it an article or a series of papers? Like
in that article that I posted, there were a lot of medical journals, and that's what we both really love is, and I'm, there's so much negative stuff we can look at that's happening with our food and medicine and whatever, but there's so much good stuff too. Yeah. And the fact that these were journals, like a journal of arthritis or something, I think it was, that was doing studies that was saying that that you need to deal with these things in this case they were talking about fibromyalgia, but I think it's to do with any condition really, where you look at, and it's what Radical Remissions is about too, but these medical journals are now saying, and I think there was one of neurophysiology or psychology that they quoted as well. There were a couple of journals, you can have a look, that were quoted where they're actually doing studies and saying, don't take a pill, you don't need to self-medicate or whatever, or have something cut out or operated on or cut burn poison or whatever. Deal with issues. And I hate even saying deal with. It sounds a bit like, deal with it. But
like
you
process
have to sort of process
it,
sit with it. And I think we run away from fear and we run away from those horrible feelings a lot. But again, you keep running. John Kabat-Zinn was the guy who introduced me to meditation 25 years ago, and he says he's written a book called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it's true, you just can't escape yourself. And I think the other thing that I think comes up a lot today that I think is really important to talk about too is where people, there's all this thing, I need to find my purpose, I need to find, sorry, I don't mean to sound condescending, I really don't, but I know that's what people are looking at, and again, social media comes in because we see all these people with 10,000, 200,000 followers and looking like, but the thing is, the fact that you're here is your purpose, because again, so we're getting back to ejaculate and eggs and things, but there's trillions of sperm, and there's all these eggs, and this one egg and this one sperm come together and formed you.
Yeah, it's a miracle. And when you start to look at the science of conception and what happens and all the barriers that you have to break through to even be in existence.
Right. So there's your purpose. You're alive. You're existing. So live each day joyously. And when you are, you start. And I think for a lot of people, they have a purpose, and it might be, and again, I'm worrying about making things sound small, because we've got some people who are on big stages, and as I said, we judge everything by likes and followers and whatever, but that's not going to be for everyone. And there are others who are going to live their purpose by doing the little things, when I say the little things, but it's still meaningful, like they bring joy to people's life through their craft or through their baking.
Or just being a mum. Just
being, not just.
No, I shouldn't
being
say just,
a mum.
But being a mum, like that's their purpose.
Exactly, and that's, and I've had mums who have just been in tears going, but is that all? Is that all? That you've brought this human into the world, and that you're helping to not mould it, but encourage it to be the best version of itself. And I think that's another thing too. We have to remember that we're not, our children aren't little us. They're their own individual. Khalil Gibran's our children. I love that one. But so the analogy I make, and I got this from one of my teachers, Marianne Williamson, where she talks about the cells in the body, and you have the heart cell was meant to be the heart cell, and the pancreas cell was meant to be the pancreas cell, and the brain cell was. But when the heart cell goes, nah, not so exciting. I think I want to be a brain cell, right? Doesn't work, right? It can't work to its full potential. And when a cell goes rogue, we have cancer. And then we have a cancer in society. Because people aren't living what they're meant to, because they want to do what they're doing because that looks really exciting. But you're not meant to do that. you know.
Yeah.
So, and you know when you're meant to do it because it feels right in you.
And I think when you know, like if you have a gift with something, I think sometimes that when people are struggling, because I know that my husband, I'm like, well, what do you like? You want to get out of the finance?
Yeah.
What do you like doing? It took 5 years, this conversation.
Yeah. I don't think we are meant to know straight away.
I like interior design. Like, no, well, that's not going to work because you can't. No, we don't have time for like, you know. But it really is just taking a step in the direction of your dreams, or just something. And if you're really good at it, I think you know when you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like when someone gives you a massive compliment, oh, you're amazing at that. Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. Because it comes so naturally to you that you think this is an achievement. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Suko, who helped me with my website, she posted something and tagged me in her own Instagram, so it has good things too. Of when there's often where something that comes natural to us, where so our reaction is duh, like Bart Simpson or whatever, is to other people a revelation. So, you know, Sue would be asking me about health things and going, oh my God, you're amazing. And she's helping me on my website and she's just amazing, like graphically as well as with words and things. And I'd be like, how do you know this stuff? How do you do this stuff so well? And we're like, wow, so we're doing what we're meant to be doing in our field, you know, and she's thinking, oh, but I want to be doing that, or more like, I want to know more about that because that's amazing. And I'm thinking, I wish, like we talked about with me trying to do the post last night, you know, like, how am I doing this? I don't understand this technology. So, Well,
I think the reason I want to get off, I'm loving it, love this, I am enough. Yes, exactly, we are all enough. Missed the start of this, need to watch. Yes, you do need to watch the replay. All the juicy stuff is at the very beginning. I'll end it only because my battery is flat. And I'm worried, and my storage is full. That's what happens when you have a baby. I got the big phone and still full. I'm worried I won't be able to post it once it ends. So everyone, we're going to be hearing more from Shalani on the vitamin O topic, and there's some other really good topics that I'm going to be talking to her about. For those who missed the start of the call, Matthew Evans is headlining the program guest lineup this year, which is very, very exciting. And a few others, I'll be announcing a few tonight, a few tomorrow. I think that's all I need to say. The program starts on the 6th, which is Tuesday next week. And I cannot wait to start this year. It's the last one until, I didn't say that at the beginning, until the year 2020. So if you're thinking about it, we've got payment plan up on the website now. Jump over to the page, just join us, you won't regret it. And
it's actually, like, as far as I'm concerned, because like Georgia and I are so on the same page, so I guess that's why. So I'm not saying I'm right or anything, but seriously, it's so balanced and sensible, and it's easy to just go with, you've made it in a way where people can just pick and choose. I'm ready for this now I'm ready for this. There's no, you've got to get to this and then you've got to get to this. And
you can really do it at your own
pace. And it's very
pace.
supportive too.
Yeah, I love it. I love going in there and love every year. I think because there's so many people who have done the program, gone out, come back with new knowledge, and then everybody shares in the Facebook group. That's the highlight for me. I learned so much in there. Anyway,
and we were going to talk about, which we're not, but other dietary sort of ways and whatever. And the beauty is that, like, there's like, you know, with you and what you're teaching, it's about what we've always done.
Nothing new, really. Well, it's reintroducing it. But it's like, if you want to have dairy, well, this is the way to do it. If you want to have grains, these are the way to eat them. So I'm not really prescribing any one diet for anybody. It's really just working with what you want to do. Okay, quick, we've got to get off. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And is there anything else? No.
I just want to leave everyone with the most powerful words are what comes after the words I am. Please be mindful of that.
That's a very good one for me. I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
You'll live into it. You'll live into it.
Exactly. Good point. Okay, I'm going to be back on Saturday talking about collagen and how to determine the health of chickens just by looking at them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, cool. Good. Okay, bye.